Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Lee, and I'm here with Shira, Kim, and Juji. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. As a society, we value creativity and originality. Some people don't think they have it in them. And if you're one of those people, we're here to tell you that you just may be wrong about that. You see, creative expression can take many forms beyond the traditional music, writing, and art. So, ladies, what does creativity mean to you?
I'll start because I've been giving this a lot of thought lately, and my entire perspective around creativity has been changed forever.
Wow.
I was recently on a podcast all about creativity, and I was really diving deep into what creativity was to me because on the outside, in the world, most people probably look at art like myself or creativity as art. If someone has a skill, maybe they're a good painter, maybe they draw, maybe they create something that's beautiful to look at, or we all go to museums and galleries and we look at that as like so creative that maybe a skill we don't have. But what I'm realizing, at least for me, is that the creativity, first of all, I believe everybody's creative, everybody. They might not be in touch with it, they might not think of it as creative, but in everything we do, there's a feeling behind it. There's an excitement in our heart when we're maybe, creating something that we bring to the world that doesn't exist. And it could be in the smallest form that maybe you just don't even see. Um, it could be, just taking care of your body and being creative about how you do that, being creative about a specific meal you cook. I'm a television production accountant, and some days, now that I have this new perspective on creativity, I'm like blown away by how creative I can get when it comes to creating some sort of accounting system or figuring something out budget wise. That's creative too. I'm creating something that doesn't exist in the world. Doesn't matter if it's numbers, if it has to do with exercise. I also public speak, and even when I'm creating a speech or a workshop, that's creative. So there's just so many ways that we're creative on a daily basis that we just might not be looking at it through that lens. My mom recently made, right before we moved, my mom made my husband a blanket made out of all of his like marathon race shirts. And yes, somebody can look at that and say, well, your mom's creative. She's a seamstress. There was creativity in how she put it together. But to me, it's what's behind it. It's the emotions, it's the excitement, it's the curiosity. She really played around and she had fun, and it was the fun. The creativity was in the fun of it. And also in her love for him. There's creativity there. So I really view it so differently now that I've given it so much thought. And even in my daily life, when I look at something that I'm creating, like even our show, when we have a meeting on Monday nights to go over topics and we talk through it and we pick our brains, that's so creative. So I just, I want more people to see it like that because, I think it's just so healing. It's so healing to see in what ways you can expand out there in society and that you offer to the world. Even a parent, there could be creativity in how you parent, or a teacher, creativity in how you teach. And I just want people to see that. That's all.
Totally get that. Juge, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about this episode is that I've always been labeled the creative, and I like wore that with a badge of honor because I come from such an intellectual family. My father is a theoretical computer scientist. So growing up, academia was really honored in my household. And somewhere along the line, and this is something like I've revisited this part of my childhood, somewhere along the line, I decided that actually I'm not smart. because I couldn't be smart the way that my father was smart. And so I decided to like hang my hat on creativity. And that really was the basis for everything that I decided in life, in terms of a career I chose, in terms of what I participated in terms of the classes that I took. And I just decided that if I couldn't be good at math the way he is good at math, by the way, like no one is good at math the way he's good at math. And, you know, his theorems like take up chalkboards. So that kind of mind is very rare in terms of like just society in general. But this creativity, I held on to it so intensely as like part of my personality. Like if I couldn't be smart like that, I had to be creative. And so I chose a career in fashion because it combined a lot of things that I loved, but actually it took a lot of the joy out of it for me because I was doing it for money on a consistent basis. And it didn't contain the depth that I was seeking. It didn't fully express who I was in the world. And I was really scared of letting that go until I started to see that there was creativity in other things, such as public speaking, such as this kind of an outlet, such as simply expressing myself through words that are obviously just, you know, my experience that I'm relaying, but in a lot of ways that is the most creative, is taking my experience and like encapsulating it in a way that is perhaps valuable to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a great conversation because you guys know that my creative outlet is music. Like that's such a passion of mine. But I met a lot of people who say they want to, like, I wish I were creative, whether it's any of the things we're talking about, the traditional things like music, art, writing, etc., or other things like gardening, etc. And I just find it so interesting because I say to them, well, why do you think you're not creative? Like someone's like, oh, I wish I could write a song. Like I've dabbled in it, but like I'm just not any good. And I'm like, well, first of all, who are you? According to who are you not good? And secondly, when you're doing it, does it bring you joy? Do you feel alive? Do you feel in the flow? Like just do it for yourself. I think we're in a society where it's like you're either going to be Beyonce or nothing. And I think the actual art of creating something, if it's something that you love to do, just don't bash yourself. Like just try it, just do it, like be still for a minute and let it come to you instead of forcing it. And I think that that's such a missing piece, that people don't even give themselves the permission to explore a creative, intuition that they have because they're comparing themselves to like the whole world.
I agree with everything you said, Shira, and I feel that most people who don't necessarily have a specific skill or talent don't necessarily think of themselves as creative, as we ourselves don't necessarily identify some of the things we do on a daily as something creative. It can be at work or at home, but you could be like a problem solver at work, and you need some creativity to do that. But it is, I think it's just under I don't want to say undervalued, but it's just something that we don't necessarily see that in ourselves if we don't have enough love for ourselves or if enough worth, and once we do, I feel that anything that we do that is either productive or efficient, whether in a positive or negative way, can be viewed a lot more as creative at that point. And again, it's like, it's a term, right? It's a term, and we can label something as creative or not, but I feel like just about everything you do can have an element of creativity to do it if you're accomplishing the goal that you set out for yourself.
Yep.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, Lee, you know, who's to say that mathematics isn't creative?
Right.
You know, I was like mathematics, academia, fashion, art, creativity, and there was like a no meeting point in between, and that was over there and I was over here. And when I was expressing this to my dad a couple of years ago, he was like, yeah, but you're creative in ways that I could never be. And I respect that so much about you. And his example was, you can walk into a room and know what color it should be.
Okay.
I thought that was so cute. I was like, yeah, I do. That is a skill. Who knew that that was something that my father like respected about me, that I could know what color a room should be.
Yeah. And he realized that's what he also lacked, you know.
Mhm.
And again, like you said, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't have creativity of his own in other ways that you may not, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Kim?
have so, I have so much respect for other people's creativity now, but I'm also at a point in my life where I'm able to truly own what creativity I do not naturally have. Like usually I would be like, Juji, can you cut? I need to go buy a new wardrobe. Can you please come with me to the store? Because I have no clue what to buy, what looks good, what goes with what. Where I know for a fact I could take you into the store and you'd have like a whole new wardrobe for me in like 5 minutes. And I have friends that are interior designers, or at least just have that eye that I know I don't have, but I know I have a lot of more interpersonal skills, or just creative skills that they don't have either. So I really found this like new respect for it, and I look for it now. And one other thing I just wanted to say, Juji, you mentioned something about this earlier about like your environment, and I think it's really important to have an awareness of how you're creative and in what ways, so that you could do them with joy. That word joy, you guys, I think all said it. And I think that's the most important aspect of creativity. So if it brings you joy to do graphic design, and that is a career that you want to build for yourself, I just think it's important as you go into actual places of work to be aware enough to ask yourself, okay, is this environment moving towards a direction that helps me thrive and can be this beautiful outlet for me to express myself and feel joy? Or is it sort of stunting your joy, and maybe you're not given the resources or the freedom to do what you really want to be doing? And then some people do it but to make money, and then they fully express themselves in that way on the side. Maybe they have side clients where they able to play more, whatever the case is. But I just think it's really important to have that awareness for yourself in the workplace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think often also finding the best in people or seeing the best in people kind of brings out their creativity more in our own minds as onlookers or observers, because everyone's got something to offer, you know. It could be just a mom who's handling 3 4 kids at home, and there's a lot to handle there, and you've got to be somewhat creative in order to handle all of what's going on, you know, from the mom to the executive. If we can see what people you know are the way that they are living their life, and whatever it is that they are handling, you know, creatively, there's something to be said for that. We all have creativity. It's innate in us in one way or another.
No, it's interesting. It's really just the way we're framing it, because people have a perspective of what creativity is. So I think it's really nice that we're reframing it. But I also want to go back to part of what you were saying, Lee, about parenting. And that is, I think it's so important to notice and foster creativity in your children, even if it's something that either you don't understand or a talent you don't have. Like, if you see like your little kid, playing with the pots and pans and stuff, like some parents might be like, give me that, don't ruin my pots, and it's like, but if you reframe it, you go, oh, well, maybe they're interested in rhythm and music and drums and, you know, or if your kid's playing, you know, in the mud, oh yeah, don't do that. You're gonna get all messy. And it's like, but maybe they're interested in like, you know, worms and earth life sciences. You know what I mean? Like, it's so important to notice where your kid is gravitating towards and foster that, because a lot of us, as we get older, we forget what our form of creativity is, because life sucks us in and we have to make a living and we're raising our children or whatever we're doing. And we don't take the time, even if it's a hobby, to cultivate that part of us and that was lost long ago. And I think all you have to do is go back to your childhood. Like, I can very easily remember when I was a kid, like music and children were my thing. Like, though, talk about flow and joy. Like, I could be doing it for, you know, for 10 hours being with kids or, you know, singing or whatever it is. And it felt like 5 minutes went by. So those are the gauges, I think, that it's really important for us to remember and tap into.
You know, it's so interesting you say that, Shira, because with the pandemic, I stopped going to the gym. They closed, you know, and I got into Beachbody on demand, just via video, like from my living room. And I got so into it, like just, I love it so much. And I'm saving money, and it's just like working out so well. And I'm doing it with my sister-in-laws, and it's just been really fun. But I noticed that there's something in me that's really enjoying it. And when we were talking, you know, when I was looking at like your notes for this episode today, and I saw the childhood, you know, go back to your childhood and just think about what you were into. My whole childhood, I was a dancer. I loved dancing. I loved choreography. Yeah.
Cool.
Until I was like 18. Well, until I was 18. You guys didn't know me back then. But it just, I connected that. I made that connection. And I thought about how much I love choreography. And I always look at the Beachbody on Demand hosts. And I always think, wow, the time and the effort and the creativity it must take to put together even just one workout. There's so much creativity there within their bodies and their minds. And anyway, but I did that where I connected the two, and I was like, that's why I love it. I grew up dancing. I love moving my body. Like, that makes, and then there's so much choreography. And I was like, wow, it's really true.
Yep.
Yeah. And that could be a whole nother episode too. Things we love that we forgot about, that are, you know, are from our childhood too. How many things are we not doing today that would make us so happy? And it's kind of just like being a kid again. What moved you as a kid?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, today, as a 45-year-old woman, I don't just take a hairbrush and put Madonna on and dance around the living room and sing into the mirror. But I loved doing that when I was young.
Right. And today that would be creative. Like, just
It's time. It's time, Kim.
I know it is.
It.
And do you know, as an adult, I almost feel, I don't think about doing that at all, ever. And I almost feel a little silly, but that's why I should do it. I'll probably really enjoy it.
I always tell people we have so much to learn from kids. They, like, obviously we're the adults and they're the kids, so we're teaching them, but I've always felt that they have so much to teach us and we just don't pay attention to them. You know, they're so in the moment. They could sing and dance. They don't care what they look like. They're just enjoying themselves. It's like, where along the line do we say like, oh yeah, can't do that anymore? Of course you can. Who's stopping you? You're the one that's stopping you. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I sing into my hairbrush all the time, but it's Lady Gaga, so.
And I'll dance and make a fool out of myself with my nieces and nephews any day of the week. But I don't think to do it alone. It's like, it's so fun. Why not? Right? I definitely encourage people who are listening to just look at things in their life that they do and what's creative about it, because there is something in everything. There's something creative in everything.
I just had an interesting thought, and that is when I meditate, like my meditation has evolved over time. And in the last, I want to say like 6 to 12 months, I've started to explore meditating, not in silence, but to music, because I love music. And I've created this playlist, and even just the way I do it, I realized even in the sitting still, you can be creative. Like, how am I going to sit still creatively? Or how am I going to do this in a new way? that's
Right.
the whole different perspective of it. It's like, it's not just one way, one thing or another. There's so many ways to be creative, even within fields that you would never associate with creativity.
So true. And Shira, that reminds me with the meditation, because I've been meditating, every morning as well. And I don't know if this is creativity, but I think it's probably more multitasking, which I should not do while I'm meditating. But I'm sitting on the floor and I'm like, let me stretch my legs at the same time that I'm meditating.
No, that's good.
But
Why
yeah,
not?
and then I question that, and I'm like, wait, is this okay? But
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
I don't know. I feel like it's creative in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Multitasking while meditating. It just does. It sounds like an oxymoron. Multitasking while meditating.
We're gonna do
Something's
an
not right.
episode. We're going to do an episode on multitasking very soon, actually. But Lee, you're being creative with your mind and your body.
Yes, yes, yes. As long as they become coherent, we're good to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that note, um, anyway, I think that we are going to wrap it up for today. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon, and thank you for watching.
Bye.